Hey everybody, and welcome to week 4 of the class. This week we're going to be looking at two rather significant movements that occurred in the latter part of the 19th century and early into the 20th century. And the first of these movements is something that many nations have undertaken for all of human history, and that is a process of imperialization. And the United States embarked on a process of imperialism in the latter part of the 19th century. And basically what imperialism is it's this idea that a nation would expand its borders outside either of its continent or within the continent. In the context of this particular subject, we're going to be looking at the way in which the United States expanded outside of the continental United States. Oftentimes, this is a process of expansionism through military force and acquisition. And that's precisely what the United States is going to do during this period. And they are going to expand outside the continent. They will acquire Alaska, Hawaii. They will wage war against Spain in order to gain control over the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam, among other things as well. And so we're going to be looking at the process by which this was undertaken within the United States. The other movement that we're going to be looking at really is a movement that came out of an earlier movement known as the Populist movement. And the Populists were a group of people, largely farmers, who were discontent within the United States, and they wanted to see change. And although they were loud and vocal, they weren't nearly as successful as the progressives were. But many of the progressives come out of this populist movement. And the progressives in many ways are reacting to the Gilded Age that we looked at last week. The Gilded Age, you might recall, was a period of laissez-faire government where large corporations ruled the day. And there was a lot of social injustice that transpired, especially for newly arrived immigrants who found themselves living in tenement homes, who found themselves working in dangerous conditions. Child labor becomes a thing. Okay, and indeed, the conditions in which people worked were dangerous. One of the things that's going to really help to bring about social change within the work field was a tragedy known as the Triangular Shirt Fire in the early 20th century, where in a factory, a bunch of women died because the doors were locked and the building caught on fire and they couldn't get out, so they plunged to their deaths. And it became apparent to many progressives that there needed to be change within the workforce. There needed to be safety precautions, right? Child labor needs to be done away with. So there are a group of people who will be known as progressives who are going to try and fight against the social injustices created by the Gilded Age. So those are the two major movements that we're going to be looking at this week. The other thing that I just want to make mention to you, of course, is that when there's two things. With respects to discussion boards, you definitely want to make sure that you respond to any comments that I leave behind. I'm always looking to try to provide more points to you as much as I possibly can, okay? And then as far as responding to other students' posts, I want you to make sure that you do more than just pose a question. In fact, I love new questions. They are always good. But one of the things I want to make sure that is if you do pose a question, provide some commentary on it for your fellow classmates, right? What are your thoughts to your own question, okay? Make sure that you're digesting this content as much as possible, okay? The other thing that I want to just make mention of, and this is in the announcement, it's also in your syllabus, but coming up at the end of week 8, I believe it's October 8th, actually, you're going to have your first primary source assignment due. So make sure you read the syllabus, get a feel for what that assignment is, and once you get through thinking about it, I want you to email me with the topics that you think you might like to look at. I'd like to hear what you're thinking, give some input if necessary. So I think that pretty much covers everything I have for you. So as always, I will ask you to go in peace, be warm and filled. May the force be with you. Live long and prosper, and may the odds forever be in your favor. All right, guys, have a blessed week.